And today, I'm here to convince you that data contracts are easy, and they provide value very quickly. So yeah, that's me. I also take the opportunity to announce my new book, Building Data Products. It's going to be my fourth. There's no more room on the slide for the other ones. And this is about building data products at O'Reilly, coming soon. If you share a picture or you tag me online, I'll be happy to send you a PDF of the early version. Okay, so I've got a few of those. I also self-published a few books for kids, which are data contract for all ages, data mesh for all ages, data product for all ages, and actually they were designed for kids. But what happened is a lot of data engineers, architects bought them for their bosses. So it's Christmas is coming, and and actually more than half of the profits, are going to two charities in the U.S. Girl Develop It and Black Girls Code. So I think, and I've got the proof that our industry lacks women. So I hope that helps. On the side note, I'm also the chair of the technical steering committee of a Linux Foundation project called Bitol. And we aim at creating open standard for data engineering. So, and one thing I'm kind of proud of, I'm one of the 30 lifetime IBM champion in the world, and I got this title for quite a few years. Okay, so let's go to the meat of the topic. So I think that most of us are moving data. Okay. And I hope you appreciate that the lorry is on the wrong side of the road here. And it's really about using pipelines and moving data from a producer to a consumer via an eventual transformation for the most mature of us, QA and documentation. And in my career, to be honest, I've been pretty lucky to have pipelines which are well documented for at least 3 days after they're released. So I wanted to share a story with you. So I've got 4 kids, but my oldest is graduated from a master's degree in computer science 2 years ago, found a job, the Gen AI was not as powerful back then. And he is doing data engineering work for a major bank in the US. And is responsible for a pipeline. Okay? It's a massive pipeline for this bank, and he's responsible for it. And so I can see in the audience that do you have kids, young adult kids? Or are you yourself a young adult? Okay? How often do you call your parents? Or often do you get a call from your kids? It's usually not a good sign, right? You can get a text, but when you get a call, something is probably not going okay. And that's the experience I had. That shit, he lost his job or something. So he called me and he told me, look, Dad, my customers, my internal customers are not really happy about me because they are in charge of doing this report and share it with this regulatory agency in the US, and the report doesn't work. Okay, and I said usually the data is flowing nicely from the producing system to theirs, but it's not there anymore. And I said, well, don't panic, look around, And what he found out is that the upstream system was down. Okay, never happened to any of you, right? But as a know-it-all dad, I told him that basically, if you had data contracts here and there, this would not have happened. Okay? He would have known that the problem would have been there before he would have got a complaining phone call from his customers. So basically, I have a data contract that you cannot refuse. But what really what is a data contract? Okay, so it's a very powerful message. It creates links. The first link it creates is between the data producer and one or many data consumers. The second link it creates is between the logical representation of your data, the business. Okay, we always talk about the big business in the company, and the technology, the physical implementation. Okay, you are interested in knowing that it's a varchar too as data engineers. The application guys that just want to know, hey, it's a string and that's good. That's good enough. Okay, and it describes the metadata. Okay, rules, quality, behavior of your data. And it's funny, it's not a typo, it's not metadata. It's funny because when I gave the slides to my marketing department to check that I was not doing anything silly, they removed the first meta, so I had to put it back. So it's really about metadata, okay? But if you remember one thing from this talk, it's not by my book, that's implied, right? But the thing is, a data contract is a source of truth for your metadata, okay? We're always kind of trying to find out the source of truth for data. This is true. But what we really care here is the source of truth for your metadata. So it's not in your schema in your database. It's not in the schema you can extrapolate from a CSV file. It's in the data contract. So, and we're trying to solve real problem with that. Okay, so I had a boss once that was saying, "Is that something you're trying to create? You're trying to find a solution for the problem that does not exist, or you have a solution that and then you're trying to find the problems." But we have a lot of problems, and I've only highlighted 5 here that in data engineering that can be solved by data contracts, and one of them is enable data product thinking, but it's also having normalized and relevant documentation. Okay, so this is a kind of thing you can actually do with data contracts. So as I said, I'm the chair of the TSC for Bitol. Okay, so and we aim at building standards, open standards. And so even if my paycheck comes from Actian, which I really appreciate, but the thing is, Bitol, it's an open source based organization. It's part of the Linux Foundation. And we have 2 standards right now. One is the Open Data Contract Standard, which is version 3. We're working on version 3.1, okay? And we also have the Open Data Product Standard. But let's focus on the contract. The contract, we wanted to have those kind of blocks inside. So you've got fundamentals, okay, name, version, description, etc. So very high level information. Then you drill into the schema. And the schema is not, are you thinking about eventually relational database, but it's also working for unstructured data. And then you've got data quality, so standardized rules, a standardized way of defining rules. A lot of companies are also exchanging data, and they're even charging for data, so that's why you can have pricing. We also wanted to be careful about all the notion of tribal knowledge in a company, okay? I'm using that very carefully. I'm still thinking that it's politically correct to say tribal knowledge. But the thing is, the team here is capturing what the essence of the evolution is, okay? So I'm not trying to capture my consumers there, but I'm interested in capturing who has been working on this so that I can actually get the help, okay? And capturing the owner or owners, depending on your organization. Of course, security, SLA, and we try to also, standardize the SLAs to make sure that the SLAs for data have the same kind of nomenclature for everybody. So you can easily use that to communicate with your stakeholders. Infrastructure info, support, business rules are coming soon, and custom properties. So if you've got something special you want to put in your data contract, you can put it as part of the custom properties. The contributors on the north side of the diagram, it's really, data engineers, data scientists, the data product owner. You've got automation tools that help you build this thing. You've got, and some of them are open source these days. You've got a bi-directional way at the enterprise level where you can push this information, for example, to a catalog, but you can also redesign it and modify it. And you can push it to applications, And one thing is, for example, when we started this Linux Foundation project, there's a guy who came and say, well, I'm using your data contract to generate synthetic data. And I think it was the smartest idea I've heard for quite a long time. Is you define all this information in your data contract, you give it to the tool, it generates data, synthetic data that you could use to feed your AI system for testing, for example. Okay, so that was a very smart way of doing it. But you can have documentation, you can have monitoring, like the case of my son, or you can have any notifications that can actually be triggered based on that. So all that is very standardized. All that is written in YAML. So I know YAML is not a user-friendly thing, but it's more friendly than XML. Let's be honest. And it's also language agnostic. Okay, I haven't found it yet. To be honest, I didn't search for it, but I'm pretty sure there's a Perl parser for YAML. Okay, so I think it will resist the time. And of course, it's both human and computer readable. So I wanted to share a little bit of an example with you about what it looks like. And you see, well, the first thing is it's pretty straightforward. You've got a name here that defines my element. And I know that it has some properties like name, a business name, and I can also have example values, okay? And I can have a description. So it's very rich and it's very prone to helping add the documentation. Remember, it's a source of truth for your metadata. Okay, so the documentation is coming from this place. Then you've got, when you remember the link between the logical and the physical implementation. That's how you do it. Okay, so you can have these abstract types that are more friendly to business, and even if it's a source of truth for your metadata, you can delegate this information to third parties. Okay, in this scenario, what I'm saying here is that the business definition for this field is actually in this INEA app, or that the reference implementation for the modification is actually, the transformation is actually in this GitHub. Okay, so I can add this thing, so I can add more information that people can actually navigate to when they're looking for something. And here's a team. Okay, so here is just an example, a quick example of what we've been doing with teams. Okay, so I've got this username C Eastwood, and that has been replaced quite quickly actually by this guy Jay Wayne, and you can even have the description of because he was playing it dirty. That's where I see people over 40. Okay, so okay, when you've got to explain a joke, it's not a joke anymore. Okay. Okay, so how do I get value? Because you're here, I promise you get growth, you get value from the data contract. Let's see why. Oh, so you've got it doesn't show well on the screen here, but let's see that this is a database. There's a big database behind the squares there, and here is my contract. So basically, the squares is representing my schema there, all my tables together, all these things, my fields, and they're guaranteed by the contract. Something happens, and the schema change. My source of truth is still in the contract. So what happens is, even if we have got a change here, my source of truth is still in the contract. So now I can decide whether I want to upgrade my contract based on this change or do something else. Let's say it's a minor modification, like someone added a field or added added a table or something to my schema there or something. So something that is minor by definition. Then I can say, okay, now I'm going to adapt my data contract to the situation, the new one. I can then push this data contract to GitHub. And from GitHub, I can trigger with GitHub Actions, for example. I can populate my data catalog. I can populate my data observability platform or any ODCS compliant tool. Okay. So this is extremely powerful. It means that your changes can be pushed to your production system very quickly. So if you want to know a little bit more about that, Ole and I are working on this newsletter on Substack, or this Substack called the Data Intelligence Platform, and we've got a cut of a few articles there, and one of them is about hands-on tutorial. It's pretty popular, and you've got services you can play with. You can get accustomed to what, because all that seems to be pretty abstract still. Well, you can get a better feel of less abstract elements. And it's the short URL is jdp.ai/hands-on-Bitol. All right, so I invite you to go there. And if you go through the 4 exercises, you even get a digital badge. So one thing I'd like to share with you as well is that for me, open standards are even stronger than open source. I love open source, okay, don't get me wrong. I think it made us a lot of progress in our industry. There's a lot of fundamentals that have changed because of that. But open standards allow commercial vendors, closed source projects, and open source projects to work together. And this is exactly what happened with ODCS, where we've got companies that did some open source tools, like my friend at Data Catering and the Synthetic Data. That's an open source tool. And you've got closed source tools, which are powerful data catalogs that leverage the information you get from the data contracts and the data products. But for me, it's a journey. And this is probably one of also the most important slides. It's really your journey to what more and more people are now calling product-oriented data engineering and management. And you're starting with your data contract. Okay, that's your first step. And you saw it's not very complicated. And if you go through the few tutorials and a few examples there, you'll see that it's very, very fast to get some result very quickly. And you get already value out of it. Okay, I'm kind of obsessed by the value you can get from the effort you're putting in your data. Okay, so better documentation, better data quality of service, faster discoverability, all that thanks to the data contract. Then, if you're willing to, you can go to the next step, which is data products. And data products allows you to get better isolation, get faster track to data innovation, okay? And you've got higher security, you've got plenty of other benefits based on data products. And then, if you want, when you've got many of these data products, you can group them together in a mesh, and you get to data mesh. So that's kind of the journey when I was at PayPal that we followed to build our first data mesh there. And we that's kind of a flawless win after win you can get and you can implement in your company. So it's time to wrap up. So data contracts. So when I worked on this slide, I found this first sentence a little bit arrogant. Okay, so who am I to say that it's more important than what you think is important? But the thing is, that's what our customers are saying. That's when I'm talking to the people using data contracts. They say, "Wow, I did not get that it was that important." Okay, so don't think I am arrogant by forcing you something and saying it's important. Okay, it's really that what we get from the field. One thing is that we're not embarking you in a massive data warehousing project the way you see result in 3, 4, 5, 10 years. Okay, we get value and we get return on investment extremely quickly. And don't take my word for it. Go through the tutorials and you'll find that. And you've got open standards, okay? So right now, the Bitol Technical Steering Committee, it's 15 people. It's 3 group, which is divided in 3 groups. And there's about a third of vendors, like I am. There's a third of consulting, so just consulting companies. And there's also a third of end users, like Diego there, who's part of the technical steering committee as well. Okay, and so they're all bringing their expertise. I'm not wearing my Actian shirts when I'm there. And even if I am, the thing is, there's other vendors that could be a little bit of a competitors, but in this situation, we're stronger than just the next dollar we want to chase, right? The thing is, we want to achieve something greater than that. So I think this is a one extremely strong point of having a good steering committee, a good balanced governance, and a very clear governance as well for that. And finally, us at Actian, we are completely behind open standard. Today I was talking about ODCS. We are behind Bitol ODCS as well, and those are open standard, which you will see in our products very soon. Okay, so we really believe in that. So, having said that, please reach out. Okay, and I'll share a PDF of the first 2 chapters of my book. Okay, so if you tag me on LinkedIn or anywhere else, yeah, so you can follow me on LinkedIn. I am also quite active on Medium, and more recently, with the help of my friend Ole, we are working quite actively on Substack as well. So made QR codes for people to, just snap the QR code and go there, click subscribe, and you know the drill. So anyway, thank you very much. Your next step, okay, outside of all what I shared with you here, is go to see my boss's boss, who is still in the room. Oh, she ran away. Just over there in the keynote theater. And we've got a booth there at N30. So if you want to continue the conversation there, be my guest, okay? And in the meanwhile, if you've got, what do we have? 2 minutes, 5 minutes for questions? 5 minutes for questions, okay. Okay, I think you were first.
So the what's that? So the data function or swap them on one piece of paper over here, you can do that quite quickly. But demonstrating that you can scale that slowly, but
That's not the right audio.
situations that you find yourself.
All right, go ahead.
The data contract that define as a journey.
Yeah.
So easy to
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Got it.
Okay, so yeah, so when okay, so I don't have the slide. So the question was, if I just how do you generate the contract, the original contract? Yeah, and so you can take your favorite editor like VI, okay, and start typing YAML, and that's suicidal. or you can use tools, and there's open source tools, or there's a few online tools as well. You'll see them in the tutorial, where you can upload a DDL, for example, and it will take the DDL and transform the DDL into a basic data contract, and then your job is to enrich it. But one thing also pretty important is that in data engineering, we are used to projects, okay? So we use it in a project mode. So I'm starting my pipeline, I'm building my pipeline, I'm testing, and then I finish, I deliver, and I run away, okay? Here, you're already starting to be more in a product mode where, hey, this thing is living in GitHub, it's policy as code in a way, and I can come back to it, I can iterate over it, and because we've got all this flow of information that is pushing it, it's okay to do that, okay? I can enhance the documentation, I can add more documentation, I can add external references, tutorial, etc. to my data contracts. So it's totally okay to, someone told me about AI that if a model is not evolving, it's dead. And I think it almost applies to a data contract, okay? The thing is, if your data contract is stale, well, it might not be used as well, okay? So if you want to add more data quality rules, modify your SLAs. I didn't go into details about SLAs, but you can have different levels of driver to your SLA. So you can do a lot of things there. So, yeah, you were before, but there's only one mic. So think about him after. Okay.
So my question is the following. So as you said, data contract is a source of truth.
Yes.
But then somebody update the schema, right?
Yes.
So it's very important to police. Does your data still?
Yes. That's called a pink slip in the US.
Yeah. So what is the best practices to keep contract and real data in sync?
Well, the thing is, it should. So for people that don't know what a pink slip is when you're fired from a company in the US. Okay. So nobody should be able to modify a schema like that. It happens, okay, because our industry doesn't have the right proper guidelines for that. But the thing is, sometimes you just don't discover, okay? I'm adding a field to something, and then I'm doing a select star because I'm going on good practices, and I'm taking the last field in my algorithm because I'm still going on good practices, and then suddenly my last field is not the same as it used to be. And this is the kind of error you can drive people nuts for months before they find actually the solution, because there's no source of truth. If you say that your schema in your warehouse, in your relational database, in your CSV file is a source of truth, well, anybody can actually do it, okay? Even by accident, okay? Most of the case, it's not intentional; it's more accident. So the thing is, it's not a security solution in the way that it's not going to tell you, hey, don't or refrain from changing the original schema, right? But the thing is, it's a security because you will know it like right away. It happens 5 minutes later, depending on your cron, okay? Or 30 seconds later if you want, you will know it has happened, okay? And then you can react. You can reverse or anything. I worked in a company, you'll find on the LinkedIn, a financial company, and we discovered like a schema change like that happened, and 2 months later, we realized that the reports were not going to a regulatory office, okay? So it's not happening only to my son, it's happening to all of us, okay? And because it was a schema change, okay? So they're terrible, okay? They're terrible. But this, go try, I think it's a second or third tutorial, son.
Last question.
Hi.
Hey.
Are we seeing this implemented in practice? That means
no, I'm just doing that at night. It's a side job, I like to think about how we can do things better, and it's purely theory. No, of course it's a practice. Of course it is.
when you say practice in the sense that in terms of technical implementation, that's one part. And secondly, these contracts need to be visible to the end user. So because Git is still hidden, you have catalogs and all, right? So it's better to make it visible to the business as well, because there are a lot of scenarios when you are capturing third-party data and all.
Indeed. I think it's even better when you are actually dealing with third-party data, right? Because then you're completely out of control. You're a slave to your provider in a way. Okay, so that's even better. It's a better use case to do that. It's like everything is a change. Okay. I don't know if you read anything about data mesh, but most people, their feedback on the experience with data mesh is that the biggest problem or the biggest issue they faced is actually the people. It's not the technology. Okay, when we built data mesh at PayPal, it's a fun story, but in short, we did our contract, our first product, and then our mesh. Okay, but the thing is, when that was technology, that was a team working, and I had a passionate team. We achieved great results. But then when you come to the user after and say, "This is how you're going to work now," yeah, there's a few things you've got to be ready for. Okay. So thank you. I think we just had time. I hope I answered your question. Thank you very much, everybody. Booth N30 over there, and we can continue the discussion after I drink something.